Like, a lot of people are sort of emailing in sort of brainy stuff.
Brilliant.
Right, which, you know, the more the merrier. I'm happy getting all this stuff, and if you know, it grabs my eye, I'll run it by you, and you can sort of tell me about it and that. And getting a lot of stuff about philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. Descartes, that's another one that's mentioned on an email.
Descartes,
yeah.
the French philosopher.
Yeah.
What's your question?
Well, he sort of cropped up on an email. Someone said, what do you think of him? And I was like, oh, I don't know.
He famously he pondered his own existence. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. He was thinking about that. He was thinking, how do I know all this is true, everything around me? And he thought, well, I can see it, and I can smell it, and I can hear it. And he went, oh yeah, my senses can be fooled. I could be dreaming. And he thought, well, that's true, I could be dreaming. But if I'm dreaming, then at least I'm alive. At least I have some sort of consciousness. So if I'm even thinking about anything, you know, I exist. I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum.
But we don't need to know the Latin bit. Why is everyone always going back to Latin? It was ages ago. Why is that language always being... And were Latin people always in a rush? Because they seem to be like words for full sentences. Why couldn't they just take the time and say what they want to say? And it's just like, what was the rush?
I love you to teach Latin!
What about Plato?
Right, Greek.
Right, now, would you say he's a bright bloke?
Yes, I would. I'd say he's a very, very bright bloke.
Right, let me tell you this. Right, if he's that bright, you know how he got killed?
No.
Got hit on the head by an egg.
Fucking hell! Well, he's not so clever then, is he?
That's what I'm saying.
Boo!
What's the story with the egg?
He was on holiday or something, right? And...
He was on holiday
in Greece, probably.
He was having a walk about, and a bird was flying over his sort of.
This bird was what? A great auk? What size bird killed him with his egg?
It was a big one, yeah.
Was it?
And the way they used to crack
an ostrich on a hang glider.
The way they used to crack the eggs open to let the kids out, they used to drop them on rocks.
What bird is this? Dropping its egg to let the kids out? You are a maniac! You are a maniac!
And Plato had a little bald head.
Right.
So from the top, the bird's there looking down, and it goes, oh, there's a little rock, I'll drop the egg. Hit him on the head. Killed him. Now, this is what I was saying before about...
I'm letting too much go now, because I'm so desensitised to his nonsense. I let him go. The bird saw Plato and said, there's a rock down there.
Yeah. Well, if these birds are killing people with bald heads, you've got to be terrified.
So, but listen, this is what I'm saying though, right? Before about knowledge and that, how knowledge is hassle, or success is hassle.
I think that was Newton. Knowledge is hassle.
Now, why is Plato's intelligence got anything to do with the fact that this bird dropped an egg on his head?
Because he was intelligent, and he's probably earning a nice few quid by giving out whatever messages he gave out.
Yeah.
He could afford to go on holiday to exotic places. If he was working in a factory, he wouldn't have been on this beach with big birds dropping eggs, is what I'm saying. So, in a way, it backfired. His knowledge killed him.
And that, I think, was Kierkegaard. His knowledge killed him.
I mean, where you got this stuff about him being on holiday?
Well, he shouldn't have been on the beach. He was only there having a break or whatever from doing what he does. It wouldn't have happened if he wasn't on holiday.
Again, I can't remember which show this was that we were discussing this, but we talked about well-known phrases and quotes from the past. We talked about Benjamin Franklin. People have this is an email we've had saying, Karl, what do you take by the well-known saying, "A stitch in time saves 9"? A stitch in time saves 9.
Oh, a stitch in time saves 9. Yeah.
See, it's another one that I don't think I've picked up on a lot of these sayings that are being sort of thrown about willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly. Okay.
Willy-nilly.
No, but I, again, it's one of them like last week. I've heard of it, but
what does willy-nilly mean?
Just sort of like throwing it about all over the place.
What do you mean? But what someone said? What does the term willy-nilly mean?
It just sort of means, carefree.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, but
that's
what
good.
does a stitch in time
So
save
you
9
understood
mean?
willy-nilly, so you used a
but it
phrase.
sounds
I mean,
nice,
you used
doesn't
it,
it?
you said it willy-nilly, but you sort of got the gist of it. So what does a stitch in time saves 9 mean?
I don't know.
What do you
must
mean you
know.
don't know? Think about it. A stitch in time saves 9.
Is it to do with sewing?
Well, yeah, sort of. So
It's not that clear.
So if you got a jacket,
Yeah.
and the seam starts coming undone, oh, there's a little bit of seam. I'll leave it. Oh, it's getting worse and
Right,
worse. Soon
right.
your sleeve falls off. So you just need 1 stitch there. That'll do it. If you do it now, later you'll need 9 stitches. And that, of course, is an analogy to other things. If you leave something that needs attention or repair, it'll get worse. So do it now. Do it in time.
Yeah, but
They could have said a tile in time saves 9 on the roof. They just used a sewing analogy.
But it depends if you're busy at that point, because if you've got something else that needs doing, that means that isn't being done because you're messing about sorting out a hole in your coat, is what I mean.
Yeah.
You can't always do stuff straight away. So maybe, I don't know if there's a sort of a middle ground where you don't have to do it straight away, but stitching
A stitch sometimes
time,
today.
say in 15 or whatever, meaning you don't have to do it straight away, but just do it before it gets really bad.
Brilliant. Do you think yours is less poetic than a stitch in time saves 9? So yours is, this is what you wanted to be a quote, right? Where, well, you could do it now, but if you're doing something else, then, well, don't do it immediately, but do it soon so it doesn't get really bad. Karl Pilkington.
No, but it's the same. That's the same way I treat most things in life. It's like I never go to the doctors unless it's really
That is sensible.
bad.
That is very good advice.
No.
That's brilliant advice
Well,
for
it is,
anyone
though.
listening. Never go to the doctors.
Unless it's really bad.
But that's why a lot of people, particularly working class people, die because they don't want to bother the doctor, or they're mildly embarrassed, or they don't know symptoms, bad symptoms. Go to the doctor if you're not sure about something. Like you were terrified to go and have your prostate.
Still not doing it.
Why not?
I wish you wouldn't talk about it, because now Suzanne will listen to this and she'll go, "Oh yeah, you haven't been," and start dragging it up again.
But why are you worried about a little a qualified doctor?
I don't know what they're doing up there.
What they
What
just
year
pop
are we in?
They. What are you talking about? They pop their finger up.
That's what I mean, though.
Why?
Well, it's 2006.
Yeah.
Why are they still using the index finger?
What, would you prefer the forefinger or the thumb, would
No.
you?
No, what I mean is, we've got.
Or a thumb on a stick, some kind of thumb on a stick.
Yeah, would you prefer it to
a
be
mechanical thumb, a
Oh,
robot
good.
thumb.
Why isn't it just a little camera? Or something that can have,
Well, they put the camera up if they initially discover something.
but just put the camera up straight away. If I'm
No,
paying
they
for
don't
the
need
visit.
to. They pop the finger up, feel that the prostate isn't swollen, wiggle it around a little bit up your back passage. What are you worried about?
I don't think they need to do
Are
that.
you
in this
embarrassed?
day
Are
and
you
age.
embarrassed about being in a room with your trousers around your ankles and little fellas popping
A
his...
little bit, yeah.
Why?
And the other thing is, it's not just that, is it? So you go in there, they check your heart out and that, which to me is the most important thing, because that's what keeps you going, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got to go there. You
Yeah.
sat on the bus stressing out, thinking, oh, in less than half an hour I'm going to have a finger up the arse, right?
What is the problem?
And they go
though?
in, they check your heart, they probably check your testicles and that.
What's up with that? They take your testicles, yeah?
Yeah,
That's...
but it's all building, and you've sat there going, oh, soon that'll be happening.
Yeah.
And that's what puts me off.
So if they just came round when you were asleep, Suzanne just let them in and goes, he's over there, right?
Yeah.
And they crept up and went, bang. You go, what are you
prefer
doing?
I just don't understand why they don't teach you how to do it yourself.
How can they?
Wow.
How can they do? Imagine you squatting in a corner with one hand on your bollocks and the other finger up the arse going, it seems to be alright.
Carl, you don't understand the phrase "a stitch in time saves 9." I don't think you should be doing any kind of invasive medical research in your own human body.
But then
Who knows what trouble you're going to cause?
No, but then at least
You would get stuck.
Yeah.
You would get stuck.
Susanna come out, your fist would be up your own arse. Okay, I think it's probably time. Let me just check my watch. Yeah, it's monkey news time.
Oh, chimpanzee that monkey news, you.
Right. Last week we talked about the one who was good at getting up buildings and that for putting out fires and stuff. Ended up working for the fire department.
Yeah, not true, but
Sure. But if the building had good grippage, he was right up there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not true, but go on.
So this week anyway, it's more about tall buildings and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was this bloke who was a builder.
Oh yeah.
Right? And you know what builders are like? They sort of move about, don't they, from sort of building to building, just building.
Well, yeah, once they built it, the building's done and they move on to build some more.
Building, yeah.
So he goes to his next job and that, right?
Who does, the builder?
The builder.
Yep.
He goes to like the boss,
new building.
the boss of this building who's building it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And he says what unto him?
Do you need anything building?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he says, yeah, there's plenty of work and that going about.
Yep.
He said, we're working on this one here. He said, get going on it. Like, there's your bricks and your cement and stuff. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Any plans? Just build.
Just start building.
Yeah. Go up.
They're getting on with it and stuff. It's all going well.
Yep.
But he notices that there's someone working high up, right, on the
Okay.
top bit.
Sure.
Because do you know, like, there's girders and stuff on these big buildings.
Yeah.
And he's still building the bottom bit,
And
which
he's
is
still,
weird.
yeah. Well, that's the way they do it there. Apparently, just to sort of speed it up, work from top to middle, from top to bottom. if you
Sure.
know what I mean.
That's in imaginary land.
We
So
put
anyway.
the spire on, now we better do the foundations,
Yeah.
and then put some stuff in the middle to keep it up there.
So anyway, he's saying to like the other workers, he's going, who's that up there?
Who's that up
Like,
there?
Who's working on his own?
The little fella, was he?
And
The little hairy fella up there.
He's the little hairy fella up there with the hard hat.
And the other fellows were going, look, don't ask questions. The boss decides who he takes on. We're happy to be getting paid here.
Don't ask questions! Well, I'll see him when he comes down.
So he said, well, it's pretty impressive, the work rate he's doing, the way he's getting from one girder to the other.
Swinging, is he?
He doesn't seem to be scared of the heights or anything. He said, no, just let him get on with it. We work well as a team. So anyway,
What nonsense is
So-
this?
so-
He believes all this.
Yep.
so he sees the boss and he goes, that fella up there, who's the fella up there? He's pretty good. And he's like, look, just get on with the job. Yeah, I'll pay you. Let's just all get on with our jobs. That. Lunchtime comes, they're all sat there, sat on a little wall having the sandwiches. He's thinking he'll come down in a bit. He's just carrying on.
Is he just still going?
Still going on that, right? So the fella says to the boss man, he says, isn't that fella up there going to come down and join us for lunch? He said, like I said, mate, don't worry about him, right? He
He's
said,
very
"Look,"
secretive. I'm suspicious about this fella. I don't know.
Yeah,
why-
I don't know
I
what
don't know
to
why he's working through his lunch. I don't know why he's not scared of heights. And I don't know why he's swinging from girder to girder. It's weird. Go on.
So he said, oh, anyway, you've reminded me that he's up there. He said he's doing a lot of riveting and stuff up there. He probably needs some more nuts to...
Right, sure. And what kind of nuts is that? Is that nuts to food or?
So he said, what, nuts? He said, yeah, just there's a bag full of them there. Just put them on the hook, send them up, and he can get on with his job. So anyway, he picks these nuts up.
Nuts,
right?
yeah.
Just hooks them on. He thinks they're not that heavy,
No.
considering, they're normally pretty heavy, aren't they? Like nuts
big
and
bag of
bolts and
nuts,
stuff. So anyway, he has a little glance in.
Oh, no, what's in there?
Nuts.
What, you mean nuts that you can eat?
Nuts that you can eat.
Oh.
Right? So they send the bag up, and he's thinking, what's all that about? He checks him out, starts to stare, works it out. You can see that he's a little chimp running about. So he goes, I'm not happy with this.
Why
So-
isn't he?
Because he's working for an organisation that's, there's unions for this sort of stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, he's not going, that's amazing. They've got a chimp riveting this building together.
Yeah.
That's not scary. He's wondering if they're breaking union rules.
So he
You
goes,
don't have to talk
So
some
he goes
shit,
and has a
man.
word with
he
the boss.
goes to the boss and he goes, look, I've worked out what you're playing at here.
Yeah.
He said, all them
Is
out
the
there.
boss sitting in a tyre?
He said, all them lot out there might not be wise to what's going on here. He
Yeah.
said, but I've clocked it, and you're sending nuts up to it. It's a monkey. It's not on. So he goes, look, we just all try to earn a living here. He said, don't get involved in it. I'm happy to pay you, but I'm paying him. Don't interfere.
He's paying him.
And he's saying, look, I'm just not happy with this. It's not allowed. So the boss was saying, well,
We
to be
pay
honest,
peanuts. We get monkeys.
he said, to be honest, mate, he's a great worker. He's known for doing what he does. He's a good grafter. If one of you's going to go, right, I'm afraid I'll have to let you go because
Blimey.
he's been here longer than that.
Yeah.
He was made redundant.
None of
because
that
the monkey.
happened.
He was laid off.
None of that happened.
He's laid off and that. And that's
No.
where that saying about, like there's a lot of tower blocks and that in America. It's like the chimp off the old block is where... So that's monkey news.
Thanks for listening to this podcast.
Who was it hosted by?
It was hosted by a great bunch of guys called Positive Internet. They host the #1 podcast in the world, The Ricky Gervais Show, with me, Ricky Gervais, Stephen Merchant,
Goodbye.
and Karl Pilkington.
The Ricky Gervais Show on Guardian Unlimited.
Hello, welcome to the 8th in this series of 12 podcasts, The Ricky Gervais Show, with The Guardian. I'm Ricky Gervais. Hello. With me, Stephen Merchant.
Hello.
And Karl Pilkington.
All right.
So, thank you again for all your emails. We're getting thousands. We're up to about 250,000 hits a week now, people listening to this show.
Blimey.
250,000 people bothering to go in and listen to this show.
Nothing else in their lives. Nothing
All around the
better to
world.
do.
It's unbelievable, though. North America, Asia, South America, all over Europe, and thanks to everyone in England as well, where we do it from in a little room in London. Keep going to rickygervais.com and registering, so when we finish these 12, we can email you when we come back and start again. We're going to need a little bit of time off to record the second series of extras.
Well, I'll tell you more than that, Rick. You're going to need some time off just to have a little breather, because I know how hard you work.
And you, mate.
Well, thanks, mate, but I mean, I know you blinking work hard.
But Karl's been on holiday again, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah, because, Karl, you don't do anything.
And you have weekends off. You take at least 5 or 6 weeks holiday a year, even though you haven't got a job now. You're meant to be doing this, and yet you still
So
go
your
on
whole
holiday.
life's a holiday, basically.
Yeah, why do you need a holiday? You potter around. Your big day last week was going to the cobblers. So why do you need a break so much this week?
It's just that, it's good for your brain and that, isn't it? It opens it up a bit.
You are not evidence for that.
Where did you go?
Gran Canaria.
For a week?
Yeah.
Just sitting around?
Well, there isn't much else to do at Gran Canaria. I mean, I don't want to go slagging a place off, because every time I seem to talk about somewhere, get into trouble for it.
Right.
But it's just like a big rock. It's just volcanic, innit?
And you must have looked like a little barnacle on that.
Have you been there before?
Been near it before to another rock, which was just.
But
It
what,
was
you
the
had
same
your
sort of
fingers
thing.
burned, why did you go back?
Because you think, well, they can't have loads of these islands that are the same, like just a big rock with hotels on. They can't get away with it. So you think,
they
well, the
obviously
next
are
one.
getting away with it. But why do you keep going to these places that are rocks? Why don't you investigate first? Ask your travel agent, is this a giant rock?
Because that's what you do, innit? You go and find out yourself. I mean, when Armstrong went to the moon, what was he expecting up there? That's a fact that it's a big rock, and he still went all that way.
I don't know what that point was.
No,
Fair enough.
so what I'm saying is, though, sometimes...
Tell us about the moon landing. As you started it, what do you know about that? Because I mean, so far you've given us a lot of insight into the moon landing. So there was Armstrong.
There was Armstrong and that.
Yeah.
There was fella called Buzz.
Yeah.
And another bloke.
Yeah. Poor bastard.
Yeah, never remembered.
Yeah, go on.
And they went up there, got out. 2 of them did. One of them didn't bother. The one whose name, don't know who he was. Didn't even get out, stretch his legs, right? Went all that way. They had a potter about, had a wander, came back again.
Yeah.
So that's all you need to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in your opinion, pointless?
To me, yeah. But to them, I'm sure they had a good time, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you just take the risk, don't you? Go and visit a place, make up your own mind.
And so, what did you make of this place? You enjoy it, Gran Canaria? It was just a big rock, but did you?
I bet the moon was better.
Really?
What did you do?
It was just, it's one of them. It's big hotel, which is that's where I made a mistake. It was one of those like big, massive places where there's loads of people, and you go for your dinner.
That describes a hotel.
Yeah.
No.
Sounds like one to me.
You've nailed that.
I've been to a few. That sounds like it.
No, but do you know what I mean? Though there's the nice small ones where it's just enough people, but this is like mental, and it was all, it was full of old people, really.
Ugh.
I mean, that's probably why it's called Gran Canaria, right? Because there's just
Grannies
old people.
everywhere.
Yeah, right. But what I thought I'd start doing is start a diary.
Okay, why?
Just because I sort of had a bit of time on my hands and that. Just thought, write it down, write stuff down.
And do you hope that this one day will become one of the great literary documents like Samuel Pepys' diary?
I haven't heard of that. Is it any good?
You've never heard of Samuel Pepys' diary?
No,
The most famous diary, other than probably Anne Frank's.
I've heard of Anne Frank's and that, and I thought if she's sat in a loft, knocking stuff up, not much going on in her life at that point, yet she
Sure.
was still writing it down.
Yeah. Whereas
Thought,
you've
well,
been
I'm
to
on
Gran
holiday.
Canaria, yeah.
I thought, so there is stuff going on that I can chat about. Start a diary.
Sure.
You started a diary.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Did you keep it up every day?
Yeah, just...
can I read it, please?
Well, a diary is meant to be sort of...
Please, can I read some out on this podcast? Karl.
Some of it, though, is only relevant to me. It's sort of...
Please give me it. Oh my god.
I mean, this isn't. I haven't just.
Look how big it is!
It's one of those desk diaries.
It's huge. It's about a foot long, and it's oh, that is amazing. Imagine if Anne Franks had been like that. As she got out, right, everyone would have heard it clank down on the desk.
Yeah, but my writing's quite big, isn't it?
Oh look, give us that.
Do you
Give us
know?
that.
Do you know about joined up writing? Have you heard
This
about
is
that?
There's no point.
Amazing.
Sometimes you can't read it, can you? So it's
Right,
best
okay.
to
Oh,
look at
oh
ancient
look!
times.
Oh my God! It starts on the first day. This is wonderful. Going on holiday to Gran Canaria today. Woke up to the news that Tony Banks had died. There was a piece on the news about how everyone was shocked. Got me thinking about an invention that would be good. Right, a watch that counted down your life. If it says you've got 3 days left, go to the doctors. Told Suzanne about invention. She said she wouldn't buy one. But she said that about the iPod.
How would this device work? This watch? I mean, how would you know when you were about to die? Is that a concern? Again, not for you to worry about, presumably the boffins and stuff.
No,
like
all
that.
I was thinking is that Tony Banks fella, you know, he died and everyone was shocked about it. But if you had like a little watch on,
But how does it work? You can't just say, wouldn't it be good? How would this work? Yeah, I imagine you in the patent office going, got an idea? They go, oh, certainly, Mr. Pilkington, what's your idea? Watch that counting down your life. Oh, how does that work? What?
just wear it, just pop it on your wrist.
No, what do you mean? Just pop it on your wrist. How does it work? Just pop it on your wrist. Brilliant. You're an idiot.
Well, it's interesting that he goes on. The flight to Gran Canaria was a bit bumpy. I thought about the clock that counts down your life again, and I wondered if it would know if you were going to die in a disaster. No, he's querying his own design.
He's wondering if he would know. He's invented this.
And now he's not even sure. A fella on the plane was reading Koi Mag. It was a fishing magazine. I glanced over and noticed he was reading the Pond of the Month article. Don't think they could make it into a weekly magazine. Well, to be fair to you, because I remember seeing a guy on the train once reading Carp Monthly, a magazine dedicated entirely to carp, and it had Carp of the Month. And I just thought, you know, once you're like 3 months in, the editor must be stressing, have we got any more carp? Have we got a carp that's actually done anything?
I reckon if they used the same one twice, there wouldn't be many complaints.
No one would be noticing.
No, that's the carp they used 2 years ago.
There was a really fat bloke on the plane. He was playing on his PSP. While I waited to go to the toilet, I looked at what game he was playing. It was darts. He's that fat and lazy, he can't even face playing a more active game on a games console. Me and Suzanne got off the coach along with a couple of old people. One of them was in a wheelchair. I don't think it was wise of them to come to a volcanic island with a wheelchair. Everywhere's pretty rough, paving and slopey. Guess I'll keep an eye on it as the weeks go on. Day 2 in Gran Canaria.
Brilliant, we're only at day 2.
The hotel's a bit odd. I've never seen as many cross-eyed people in one location.
That's enough, isn't it?
That's amazing!
Well, you may as well let me read on a bit more.
But this is amazing.
We'll come back to
This
it
is a
later,
brilliant diary. This might be the best diary ever written. Oh.
While sat listening to the Kinks on my iPod, I wondered if everybody thinks in their accent. I know I do. What's this? What are you talking about?
Just that, you know, when I've been sat there lying on the lounger, right, and I was thinking about stuff.
How do you know you think in your accent? Tell me a typical thought.
Because what I mean is, say if I was like, if I saw something, right? Do you know how I say like, oh, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
No, but
that was
I don't
being
have
said.
to. But when you think, I don't think the sentence is like I'm saying it. It's just a thought. The thought appears. It's conceptual and it's already there. It's not like I go, Rick, what? Just looking at that fellow over there, were you? Yeah, I was. Yeah. I was thinking it looks a bit weird. Oh, so was I. I don't think out whole sentences.
Whereas you have Karl, stop listening to the Kinks for a minute. Look over there. More cross-eyed people.
No, well that's
Is that how your mind works?
In a way, yeah. And
Brilliant.
that's when because I
That
thought
explains a lot.
It's great that he has to think about whole sentences.
because I thought that's weird, isn't it? Like I didn't think that's weird, isn't it? And I thought I actually think in my accent. And then I thought, does Stephen Hawking, does he when he's doing his maths and that? Is he? I don't know where he's from, so I don't know what his accent would be like.
I think he's from Kent or Cambridge or Oxford. Or
Right.
something.
So
So you think he might think in his
voice, in that voice, box
computerised
thing.
voice?
Just wondered.
Had lunch inside today due to shite weather. Sat next to an old fella. Old men's ears and noses carry on growing as they get older. Suzanne noticed his fingers were fat too. Maybe they continue to grow. Suzanne didn't laugh when I said her arse had the same problem. Day 3, cloudy start to the day. Had pie and chips in a cafe. Had a bit of an argument with Suzanne because I thought it was daft that we were paying for food when we were on an all-inclusive holiday. Changed my mind when I saw they sold pie, though. The cafe was called Tattoos. The fellow who owned it didn't have any tattoos. But we never saw his wife. Oh, brilliant. Had a drink in a bar. Everyone sat and watched one of the local cats lick its bollocks.
It's the greatest holiday in the world! That's the entertainment in that town!
Went back to the hotel and had a sleep before tea. I love the fact you're moaning about old people, but you're just as bad.
You've done nothing so far!
He's done nothing, he's got a big hip.
Oh, God.
Woke up to news about ducks being badly treated. There was a really ugly one with bent legs.
I'm gonna die! Why does he write this down? Oh, God. Oh.
There is a fat bloke from Bolton who is in the pool as I write this. He's got a big tattoo on his back, but I can't work out what it is. ... He just got out of the pool and burped. You just felt like you had to keep us abreast of that.
Everything's in the diary. I just seen it get to the point where you're going, breathed in,
Yeah.
breathed out again.
There was a big fat fella in the sea who kept his t-shirt on. If you're big and fat, is there more chance of you getting burnt because there's more of you on show? I asked Suzanne and she said she didn't know in that sort of not listening kind of way. I wanted to hang about to see if the fat bloke was going to get in the kayak, but Suzanne said we had to head back. Just let him wait in to see if he's going to capsize. We go home today, so we got up early to get the last bit of cloud.
No, it's just that it wasn't. It's not that sunny all the time. I mean, I was sat in weather that if it was like that here, there's no way I'd be sat in the garden.
Yeah.
But because you're on holiday, it's like, well, we got to sit in it. Put your coat on.
So are you going to continue to write this diary? Every single day?
It's amazing. Keep this diary up. It's amazing.
No, I will keep it up, because what I find as well is, I think earlier on, before I went away, I think I did learn something, and because I wrote it down, I remembered it a bit better. So
What was that?
I just was thinking then, I forgot it now, but but I remembered looking back at it and not having to read it all, because I remembered the end of it before I read it, if you know what I mean.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, if you've enjoyed the diary of Karl Pilkington, more next week, I hope. Another week's worth. That's amazing. I'm going to try and get that published. We'll put the odd page up on the web. Go to rickygervais.com. Don't forget to register there as well, so we can email you and let you know what's happening. Brilliant.
The Ricky Gervais Show on Guardian Unlimited.
Rick, who hosts this podcast?
The guys at Positive Internet. Why?
Now, I know you're a big fan of those guys.
Yeah, because they're brilliant.
Well, yeah, they are, and they'll tell you they're working overtime. Because we've had an email from Jake, who's the director at Positive Internet, and apparently he's been in touch with the editor of the Guinness World Records book.
Oh, right.
And he's hoping to see if we can get this podcast in the Guinness World Record breaking section, or the podcast world record breaking section, or whatever they call it. I don't know exactly what record we'd have broken. I assume it's just sheer number of listeners, is it? Or
yeah,
being the number one?
it's the number one podcast, and it's the biggest downloaded show ever at the moment.
Right.
I think that's because people have only had podcasts for a couple of years.
Yes, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know when the next issue comes out. I guess it's sort of December time.
I used to get the Guinness Book of Records every year. I love it.
I've never understood why it was such a big seller. I mean, presumably, who's excited to find out whether, you know, I don't know, a man that can balance 3 egg cups on his head has beaten the record?
Well, they're
next
real
year?
records as well, obviously. I used to go straight for that. I really loved the sort of animals, fastest, strongest, all that sort of thing, biggest.
But aren't they the same every year?
Well, no, they do change, and obviously there's new entries to keep it exciting. But what annoys me is that it looks like anyone can get in if you're willing to do something that no one else will bother with.
Yeah.
They did one on Big Brother where it was the stacking sugar cubes, and I was thinking, well, no one's going to bother beating that.
No.
There's people that walk along with a milk bottle on their head. And no one's going, oh, I'm a bit jealous of Bill. Why? He's broken the record. What? For walking along with a milk bottle on his head? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into training tomorrow. They're ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I do like the real ones. There was one in there I got on a couple of years ago, and it was about disasters, and there was one where there was some big ornamental incense burners at this thing in I think Thailand or Korea or somewhere, and they fell over and they killed 7 of the congregation, and the headline was biggest joss stick disaster. Now again, there's no one trying to beat that. There's no one going, we need 8.
Yeah.
We need 8 people. We're going for it tonight. What do I have to do? You have to stand quite near those big joss sticks. Okay.
And what record am I breaking again?
We'll tell you after. Also, I think a lot of people waste their energy on this because there's one guy in there that can do the 100 metres in 11 seconds running backwards. And I want to say to him, turn round. Because I think you'd be fast forwards. You know, if you'd have only, from the age of 10, sort of, you might be, you know, one of the fastest runners in the world.
Because you're never going to be considered one of the great athletes for doing it
no
backwards.
one knows about him. That's not going to ever be an Olympic sport, running backwards.
No.
Or, and now the 100 metres. Oh, one of them's putting a milk bottle on his head.
yeah. This is one to watch. There was a guy in there, I've always been fascinated by the guy, he had, the world's longest fingernails. And they were truly extraordinary. And they went out and they started to curl around, obviously. And in the end, they almost looked like sort of there's a big spiral of gnarled old fingernail. But I just thought, it just seemed like such a terrible affliction, really, to be walking around, you know, with these giant fingernails. So much you can't do. Just missing out on, you know, Jeff, you coming bowling? I can't. You know, just so many different things that you miss out on. I've never quite understood who's willing to have this eat into their life. You know, it's going to take over their whole life just so they can have their photo in this book. It seems a very bizarre impulse. Karl, have you ever been tempted by any world-breaking attempts? Do you find them fascinating or futile?
I mean, you don't get paid or anything, do you?
No. They do it for the pride.
But say like the fella who can run with a milk bottle, could he get a milk round? And do you know what I mean? I can understand that if you can use the skill, but like you say, if it's getting in the way of your life and that, then what's the point?
There was a kid at school who said, I'm in the Guinness Book of Records. I went, oh yeah. He said, no, I am. And he brought it in. And now I don't know if this is a valid claim. He claimed to have been in the audience for what, in this particular edition, was labelled, you know, the largest audience ever for a sporting event. Some giant Super Bowl game in America. He claimed to have been in the audience. Now, do you think he deserves to say he's in the Guinness Book of Records?
Sort of. I think that's a lot. As it was the largest audience ever, I think a lot of people can claim that one. I mean,
if he wanted to get a name check on doing that, he would have been best saying, I was sat in the audience in a bath of beans. Because then that would add to it, and you get a little, you know, they'd have you in the picture, wouldn't they? So
He's Mr.
do it
Trick
that
there.
way. Yeah.
The Ricky Gervais Show on Guardian Unlimited.